when you're doing that thing that drives you and you give it real, authentic love without having to worry about, can I sell this? How much money am I going to make? Will this get me laid? You know, those things are all great. But when you do something just because it feels good and you know it's good, you can't fight that. There's not a drug in the world that I've done that can replace that feeling. And that's why I love what I do. You know, that's why when I paint that heart everywhere, obviously this is the things I'm capable of doing. But when I paint that love, when I paint that heart and that 7, my message is you have to love today, right now, for as long as you got.
We are recording and all right. Welcome everybody back to the Free Yourself podcast. We've got my man 7. I am your host. My name is Ryan Janni. I am one half of the remote controllers. Shout out to my man Chris D'Souza. And today I am, I'm really excited always about all my guests, but today we went a different route because this is all about artists and their story. And today we have someone who creates art with their hands and paint, and it's beautiful. And I met him. It's a really cool story. And I'm going to let you say hi and let you talk in a second. But it's a really cool story how we met, because it was kind of, I believe there's no coincidences, right? And those who know me know that I love cigars. And I have this one cigar shop in Newtown. Shout out Ned's Cigar Shop. Love that place. And my man 7 has this beautiful painting right outside because it's an art gallery right next door. Yes. And I go in and I'm talking to the dudes that work there, and I'm saying how I'm going to do a show at Graffiti Pier. And they're like, oh, well, if you're going to Graffiti Pier, you might see some art by this guy. And he brings me outside and he shows me this painting. And right away, it's got a heart with a 7 in it and a spider web all around it. And I'm just like, this guy knows about the number 7 being the number of the universe. And I'm like, that's sick. I'm not expecting to go to Graffiti Pier and meet the man behind the art, because I saw the art the last time I was there. And then I come back there and boom, my man is just finished this awesome piece that goes like, it goes like around the pillar, and he's done it all up. So thank you so much for coming and doing the Free Yourself podcast. Let's start first by addressing this incredible piece of art that is behind you. Holy crap. Like, I'm guessing obviously you did that.
Yep.
All right. And so what was the inspiration for this?
So welcome to 7 Strike Studios. This is my art studio. This is where I do private tattoo appointments. I have consultations for murals at people's houses. And essentially, this is just where I lock myself in and try to create stuff. As you see behind me, this is an octopus. I love octopus. I love painting them. I've been loving them for a long, long time. And any chance I get to paint them, I absolutely will. And I think that it really brings a lot to my interpretation of being a multitasker. Because as you know, octopus have a ton of legs.
Yeah.
And I associate with being a kind of artist that can pick up any medium with any influence and just rock with it, because that's just what I'm feeling at the moment. So I very much connect to octopus in that way.
And so obviously we all know octopus is 8 legs. So where did 7 come from? I know we spoke about the origin.
Yeah.
I want you to explain to everyone.
No worries. So the number 7 has actually been in my life much longer than I realized. But I want to say, for the sake of the story, high school is when the number 7 really, really came to me. Um, I was born at 7:02 a.m. on May 21st, which is 3 sevens, in 1987. And so just little things like that have been in place in my life for a long time. But it wasn't until high school that I had a really difficult lifestyle. I had a lot of addictions. I had a lot of reckless behavior, and I essentially ended up being locked away. I was no longer safe for my community. And when I did go to jail, shout out to Montgomery County, I had an epiphany about what I was doing with my life. And it seemed like being in jail was the absolute lowest point that I've ever been in. And I think me being forced to be isolated and reflect upon the things that I've done and how I want to continue to make sure that I don't end up back here, had everything to do with how the universe told me that the road that I need to be on is going to provide details, especially the number 7, to help guide me in the right direction in my life. I can't give you any one clear instance, but I can tell you that when I'm at the right place, the number 7 appears. And sometimes it's not just a number, sometimes it's in conversation, sometimes it's the amounts of something. And the universe is wild like that. I really do believe that every single person that is on this planet has a specific role to play for everyone else. And I believe that 7 has led me to become on that path. And whenever I am being confronted with this number or things or what have you, it is just my backup to know that, yeah, confirmation, this is exactly where I should be, and this is exactly what I should be doing.
That's beautiful, man. I really relate because the number 11 has been that for me for a long time. And very, I don't want to say recently, but a lot more recently, I've been seeing the time of 8:24 on the clock, and that's my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So it was really cool that especially on my dad's birthday that I saw 8:24 because I believe that I'm a reincarnation of him and he of his father. And it was like, and we're both Virgos, like his birthday's 9/17 and 8/24. So like very, very, very a lot of
17?
similar. Yeah, 9/17.
My bro, I promise you this is true. My girlfriend's birthday is on the 17th. We literally just went away to North Carolina, to her hometown, but that's wild.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's something beautiful because nothing happens on accident, right? So like when people try to dismiss little instances like that connect us deeper and stuff, it's much more of a reflection on them than what, because nothing in the universe, I believe nothing in the universe is on accident, and everything happens for a reason, and everything that happens to me is the best thing that can happen to me. And I'm sure you can relate because I'm sure very much like you said, like when you were in that jail cell at the time, it didn't feel like a great thing that was happening to you. But now how do you feel about it?
I could not be, and I say this all the time, I have been so grateful to have had the opportunity to be forced to work on my demons, because I think, and I really believe this, if I had never went to jail, I think it would have been years until I would have had an actual awakening, and that's exactly what I think it was. It was an awakening. It was like me realizing that I absolutely have to take the next step in my life or I'm going to be back here.
and very much so, because we've talked about this in my past and as well, like if I didn't get caught doing the things I was doing and didn't actually have that experience at Chester County, so then I wouldn't be where I am today. And it's hard because that didn't just affect me, right? Like that affected my family very, very deeply. And like when I got arrested, I was with like 15 of my friends on my way out to the bars in Westchester, and like got arrested in front of all of them. And like it was a very humbling, it doesn't even feel like enough to explain, like, but it was also like a really big relief because of for the year before that, having warrants out and just kind of being like, I'm gonna move back to Jersey and it's gonna go away, right? Like maybe they'll forget about it, which they don't forget. It doesn't just go away. You have to, like you said, like you have to face the demons, and it was getting to the point where like I wasn't going to. So I believe the universe was like, here you go, like you need to,
right?
Or because if that didn't happen, like the road that I was going down, like I'm grateful just to be able just to wake up every day now. Absolutely. Right? Like, because if that didn't happen, I don't know where I'd end up. And there's no sense like stressing over it, right? Like I got to live in the present moment and be grateful that I'm here now and that it happened. And if I didn't learn from it, and if I went back to those old ways right after I got out, then like I'm sure worse and worse things would have happened. Like that's not the right path, right? Because I'm not just causing harm to myself, I'm causing harm to my loved ones and everyone around me. So for you, when we met at Graffiti Beer and we're talking about it, you were very extensive on how art has been able to give you this release and this way to give back and to because people can, when I saw your painting, like just the connection I had, like not only the number 7, but like number 7 over my heart, and like the symbolism for that of being like number 7 is the number of the universe, and there's so many things that are 7, like the 7 colors, the seven major chords, 7 minor chords, seven chakras, 7 continents, 7 major bodies of waters. 7 is 7 days of the week, like
Everywhere.
7's everywhere. But then it's over the heart. The heart symbolizes as me. So I am everywhere. I am everything. And you're shaking your head like there was a
Absolutely.
point to that.
Yes. Damn straight. Yes.
So with your art, can you bring me down like a timeline of how you've been able to because I know we're always learning, right? Any true artist is still always learning, but how have you been able to improve so much so that there's this incredible painting behind you and like how have you gotten to this point in your journey with art?
So starting off in jail, I made a promise to myself that instead of going out and getting a great job and a great education and a great girlfriend, and I really realized that before I can do any of that, I have to realize who I am and what I am and why that's important to me, above my addictions, above my bad behavior, and I made a promise to myself that if I just do art, just a little bit of art every day, my life's going to get better. And I really truly believe this. And that's exactly what happened. I just went to the universe and I manifested this fucking love that the world needs every day. And every day I am given this opportunity to wake up, plant my feet on the ground, be grateful for another day, and move on. I really appreciate the things that you said about my artwork, and it was really awesome to meet you from Ned's. I know Matt, he's the predominant guy that works there. And my art has, like the legs on an octopus, has a lot of different legs. Let's go with that. My art has a lot of different legs. And I started off tattooing. I was introduced to tattooing when I was in high school by a much older friend of mine who had an incident with her brother and he had passed away. And I literally had a tattoo machine handed to me upon one crazy drunken evening, and doing a tattoo without any prior experience is how I realized that this is for me. And after realizing that, I took a step back and I started like really studying it and how it all works together. And, you know, about a year later, I got my apprenticeship from the International School of Body Art, as I'm looking at my certificate. And yeah, and it's been a transformation because I've been tattooing for 13 years and I love it. I've worked in a couple of different shops and I realized that for me, having my own private space is the way I like to be. You know, I can work on my own time and I can do whatever I want and I don't have to answer to anybody, which is how I like it. 6 years into tattooing, I realized that art doesn't just have to stop with a tattoo machine. I can pick up a brush. Now I realize that this is a really simple concept, like duh, 7 brushes exist, right? But I was always kind of scared. I was always kind of terrified about brushes because there are so many talented and incredible artists in the world. And I felt that like painting was so foreign to me because I have very little experience. And, uh, you know, I didn't really feel comfortable with it. So I kind of just switched over to aerosol and it just took off, you know, and I can't tell you what it was. It was just one day I went with a buddy of mine, you know, we did some tags and then I sat there looking at these crummy tags. And I'm like, I know I'm better than this, you know? And that moment, a door opened in my head where it was like, well, show me. You think you're better? Do better. And that took me. That took me away, not necessarily from tattooing, because I've still been tattooing to this day. But when I came across aerosol, it was so forgiving. It was so accepting. It was so intimidating by the fact that I could do so much in a small window of time, you know? And the fact that there's no cleaning brushes, there's no water, there's no, you know what I mean? It's just cans. Cans just come together and then you use them and boom. But the progression definitely started with tattooing. I've definitely, you know, I've been doodling my whole life, but it hasn't really gone anywhere. I was terrified to use a paintbrush, and then tattooing happened, and I was just like, "This is great. People want to pay me to hurt them, and that's fantastic. I should really learn to do a good job because it's kind of forever, you know." So maybe I want to get real good and don't want to make any mistakes. And then as I started getting into comfortable, and aerosol popped up, and I realized that aerosol was so different on a multitude of levels. But one way that it's really different is when you're doing a tattoo for somebody, there's a couple things as a professional tattoo artist you have to accept. You are hurting someone. You are painting on their body forever. And the person that is getting this tattoo is most of the time getting something that is meaningful to them, you know? And for me to be a chapter in that person's life forever is such a beautiful thing that people, and here's the thing, I don't work in a shop with 4 other artists. I am a lone wolf. So if you come here, it's because you know me or you've seen my work on someone and you're like, I got to reach out to that guy. And I've been so fortunate to be in that position because when you really, really are passionate about something and you give it life, it won't die. It won't. That's the whole beauty of it that keeps it rolling. Um, I want to touch up. You asked me about the seven. I want to talk to you about the seven and the heart. So for me, I don't know if you could see my heart, the little web on it. Um, for me, the heart represents the things that you love, the things that you're passionate about, because your heart will continue beating if you have life in you. And the things that we love to do, the things that we spend the most of our time on, the things that are a natural burning fire in our souls that we do just because we want to, musicians, painters, people that bake, people that are architects, people that just sit down and just because they want to, they will create something beautiful. And obviously, just like any artist, it doesn't start that way.
Yeah.
It starts out with chicken scratch. Am I right? But when you love it and you nurture it and you feed it, it grows just like a plant, just like love. And when you're doing that thing that drives you and you give it real, authentic love without having to worry about, can I sell this? How much money am I going to make? Will this get me laid? Those things are all great. But when you do something just because it feels good and you know it's good, you can't fight that. There's not a drug in the world that I've done that can replace that feeling. And that's why I love what I do. That's why when I paint that heart everywhere, obviously this is the things I'm capable of doing, but when I paint that love, when I paint that heart and that seven, my message is you have to love today, right now, for as long as you got. Because you could die today. You could die tomorrow. You could die in 2 days. And if you died not doing that thing that you love, that'd be a bummer.
Dude, so taking it back to putting your heart and soul into your art and being a part of someone's life forever, that's got to be the evidence, right? Is that people are seeing your art, whether it be on a person or behind you, they're seeing it, seeing that love and saying, I need to go to this person because they put their heart and soul into it. And like, how does that feel when someone reaches out to you because they're like, this art touched me in such a way that I need to come to you to get this done? Because like you said, it's not like you have a shop that is, with a bunch of other people that people are coming to get a tattoo. Like, they're reaching out to you personally. So how does that feel when someone reaches out to you like that?
First of all, it's really humbling. Because when I was younger, I felt more of like a rock star. I'm like, oh man, people love me, yeah. And then as I started really growing into it, I realized that it wasn't about being a rock star or feeling that way. It was about having an authentic drive that a lot of people don't have. So much drive to what the things that we do, the things that we create is so driven by money that when there's an opportunity to create just because you feel like it, that is all of the drive. And the people that have reached out to me that are asked for my art make me feel exactly that. Like, this person reached out to me because of my artwork, made them feel something, and they reach out. I'm like, first of all, I'm really grateful that that's how they felt. And two, like, for them to put their energy into reaching out and telling me that that's how they felt is so humbling, is so rewarding to know that the things that I'm doing for my community, for my town, for my city, is not only being respected, but it's being inspired. It's being supported, it's being loved, it's being cherished, and it's being, you know, I don't want to say provoked, but it helps push me get better. You know, it's not about how many likes I get. It's not how much. It's not about how much people like it. It's about what they got out of it and why it's important to them. And the main reason that this comes out pure is because I don't make any money painting that heart and that seven. You know, like that sign that you saw outside of Ned's. That was a gift. I came to them and I'm like, hey, like I saw that you have this little thing. Like I would love to put this up there. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. We would love to have that. And as long as there's a breath in my body, I never want to stop doing that. Like we're all human. We're all addicted on some level to money. We have bills. We have responsibilities. That's just is what it is. You know what I mean? But I really do believe that when you have that real authentic passion that you can do on, you know, on the weekends or your side time or whatever, and people love it because there's good that comes out of it and it's authentic, that's power. And I'm addicted to having that power because I know that I'm making a difference to people that, you know, are maybe struggling, or maybe they need a little, you know, push, or maybe they need a little inspiration. And the fact that my art is providing that to some people is just like
and
beautiful.
and it's happening because you're sought after, right? Like you can tell that literally you're putting your heart and soul into it, and that it's beautiful. Like it's so beautiful, man. And you know, when we had that conversation at Graffiti Pier, like it I don't know, it might have been like 45 minutes, but like out of nowhere. And I was just listening to who was I listening to? So one of my two coaches, Sean Nixon and Jonathan Matthew. These two guys have a podcast called The Bridge, and because everything is connected, you know, that's how these guys have like deeply affected and changed my life, and the lessons that I've got from them, and seeing, being able to see the lessons in my everyday life. Like they're the ones that made the connection about the number 7 to the universe, and and how deeply that number was already ingrained in my life because I was already doing chakra meditation. I DJ and produce music. Like these I've always I've always loved the color red, and where a big part of my life where I've struggled is feeling grounded, and it's like always seeking out red because like I'm like it's the root chakra. That's supposed to be what's keeping you grounded, and it's there's so many beautiful things when we can sit back and look at why are these things happening, and that takes deep reflection. And man, when you hit that point in meditation, when I hit that point in meditation where it's like this overwhelming, and I love how Joe Dispenza has described it, like this overwhelming feeling of love, like because it's not, it saying it's a high is almost like downgrading
Right.
what it is, right?
Right.
And so I can really relate that to what you're talking about, of that feeling of that power, that it's like you can achieve anything, right?
Yeah.
And and that's why I love starting my day with the chakra meditations, because when I do that and then hop in a cold shower, like that's what I wanted to bring up too. Because the anxiety and depression and fear monster and all these things that you know I wake up with, the meditation like sits them all down and says, no, like we're in this together, but like I'm holding the reins.
Right.
And then I get in the cold shower and it forces you to be incredibly present, like the most present possible, because there's all those thoughts, but like the water's so cold that you have to feel it.
Right.
Like there's like Wim Hof and his breathing techniques to make it so that he can climb Mount Everest in like shorts and no shoes. Like
Right.
that's a different level. Like it's achievable, but it takes a lot of time to be at that point. And what's really cool is that I've been able to, since I've been doing the cold showers, like I remember back to when like the pilot light was out in the house, right? And you got to take the cold shower and they're hyperventilating and you don't want to do it, but then you get out and you feel really good, but you're like, that sucked. Yeah. And to remember that to now where it's like, I still have that hesitation to get in, right? Because it's not the greatest feeling. Like yeah. It's ice freaking cold. And then I get in it, but now I'm not hyperventilating. Right now I'm controlling my breath. Now I'm just getting through the shower. And then I get out and like the exhilaration that you get, like, I don't think it's adrenaline. I feel like it's just like all your senses are heightened and awakened. And then like to take that into everyday life, like it opens up my ability to speak up for myself and to break through that anxiety and about like, am I good enough? Am I worth it? Because now I've done all these things to kind of get me through that. And what they were talking about on their podcast was like, it is an everyday thing. That's why it's a practice. That's why meditation is a practice. You don't undo 15, 20 years of racing thoughts in one meditation session of 3 minutes. Like right. It becomes a practice and you get better at it. Like I would love to say that it gets to a point when it's gone forever, but like I have not reached that point. So I cannot say, I don't have that evidence. Yeah. I can only say that I have to work at it every day. I have to wake up and do the meditation and get in the cold shower and go to the gym and get my shit together. Like, so what types of process, because you were talking about the brush being very intimidating. And to me, I would think the aerosol is like very unpredictable in a way that the brush isn't. So how have you gotten over any sort of anxiety about the aerosol and how do you have like a process that you go through before you paint?
It really depends. There are, going back to the octopus and the 7 legs, there's a lot of different kind of, art. Aerosol really kind of just breaks down to 2 things for me. There is mural art, which is jobs, it's gigs. Somebody wants me to deck out their kid's room. You got it. Give me some ideas. Let me go get some paint. I'll start tomorrow. But when I do street art, it is a very different, it's an entirely different animal. We're still using the same medium, but it's entirely different. And I'll tell you how. When I come into a space that I have to beautify, if you will, it's a sacred space. I've been given permission to explore every inch of the space to make it beautiful, to make it resonate, to really leave my stamp on it. Whereas, so I have to prepare, I have to sketch, I have to show the client what they like, what they don't like. I have to prep the room. I have to tape off the corners. It's a process that is relatively lengthy, but so worth it, because when you appreciate the space, it shows in your work. It's kind of like if you're going to do a painting on a rough surface, but you don't do a gesso first, it's going to look very rough. And it doesn't have to. You could have taken those 3 minutes to do a layer of gesso, and that will drastically improve your painting. Street art is very different. I typically have up to 5 minutes to do a piece of street art before I have to get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
For a lot of towns, street art is illegal and it is defacing public property. Sometimes it's private property. That really depends on the cop. You think that it doesn't, but it does. Um, and I've met police officers that did not like my art at all. Even though there's a positive message,
Mm-hmm.
it still has a rebellious vibe. And I kind of dig it, but a lot of cops don't. And I get it. It's their job to keep the peace. I totally understand. I'm not here to fight that. But street art is so great because it is not just one or two people looking at a wall. Like it's just you and me looking at this octopus. Sure, my clients come in and they get to have a look, and that's awesome. But when I do street art, it's for everybody. I'm not worried about getting paid. I don't even need it. I do it just because I love it, you know? And I also have to sit down, like do a sketch, figure out how I'm going to do it. But the purpose is not just to beautify a space. The purpose is to give a little bit of that love that I cultivate and I share it with anyone that's willing to look at it. My essential goal to make the street art is for people to look at it and be like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. I might take a picture. It might make me smile, whatever. But most times when people see my artwork on the street, it resonates positivity. And I love that. It's just, you just cannot compare this to that, and the reason that I've been doing street art for, almost 10 years now, and yeah, I love it. It's rewarding. I would never stop. As long as I have a breath in my body, I'm going to try to do it.
And so and in the, the climate that we're in right now, the breathing in that stuff. So do you have a mask? Do you just,
Yeah.
Really?
Totally. I wear masks. No, I absolutely do try to wear a mask when I'm at a client's house, working as a professional. Totally. But most of the time when I'm in my studio, nah. I think that breathing in that aerosol is super toxic for you. But totally, like no doubt about that. Like let's talk about that. You should not do that. Kids, wear a mask. But I will say there's something in the element of being so present that you're not scared of anything. It's stupid. It's kind of like riding a motorcycle without a helmet. Okay? That's just dumb. But when you're in that moment and the breeze is going through your hair and you are holding on to nothing. It is just, you know what I mean? That kind of liberation is so satisfying that I really feel at times putting a mask on kind of takes it back a little bit for me.
Well, I can really, really respect that, because I believe, and talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza again, like he has proven that our body can heal anything. Right? So like there's two ways of looking at it. And let's see if people can apply this to everyday life and what's going on right now. But when you breathe in that the aerosol from it, you're not huffing it, right?
Right.
It's just you're outside a lot of times when you're doing this, right? And then we have detoxification processes in our body to get rid of things that are not meant to be in our body. Like the example is like you get a splinter, right? Eventually, if you don't pull it out right away, and your body's eventually going to push it out.
Absolutely.
Right? And especially through, you're tapped in to the creative part of your brain. I forget it's left brain, right brain. I think it's left brain. It's left brain, right? I don't know.
The creative is the right side.
Yeah, it's right brain, left. Yeah. So that is the part of the brain that Dr. Joe Dispenza says you need to tap into in order to heal the body.
Mhm.
So you're effectively already in that space where I don't believe that aerosol can hurt you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But if someone else sees it and has the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm breathing it in, I think that will hurt somebody.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's two very different trains of thought. And I wonder if anybody out there listening can apply that to things that are going on in our world today.
Yeah.
And with, you know, the fear mindset instead of the love and and unity mindset. So well, we're getting a little off topic with that, but I think it was right on
Yeah.
point with what we're going with. And so I wanted to ask you, so there's obviously very different things that come into play with tattooing versus the aerosol. They're two very, very different mediums of art, right? So how are you so good at both? You know what I mean?
Honestly, this is always going to be the answer. Love. When you love what you do, you don't stop doing it. You know?
And you've been able to do some incredible works of art. It's just so prevalent, just like looking right at the art right behind you. Like every time I look at it, I'm noticing like new different things and how it's just incredible. And like I've seen, you don't have just that one piece at Graffiti Pier. I've seen many of your pieces, and then the first one that like I felt connected to you, and the one at Ned's, like it's you can tell the love that comes through, like just by looking at it. And like I told you my experience with like 7 and the heart. It's like, I am everything, I am the universe, I am love. And then the spider web, like literally connecting you
Connects
to every,
all of it.
right? Like it's and in the past, right, I've had a fear of spiders and bees especially. So, well, yeah, we can get into how when I was 3 years old and I was traumatically stung by an entire hive. Like, yeah, so like, and it's so funny because like my whole life I blocked that out, right, when I was younger. And then talking to my parents about like my fear of bees, they're like, well, you did get stung. Do you remember when we were camping and we had a literal camper, and then you like disturbed a hive? And I'm like, oh, so maybe that's why I have a deep-seated, like, I flinch so hard at not just bees, but a buzz by my ear. It could be a fly.
Yeah.
I flinch, like, and I am actively trying to breathe and calm down and sometimes it just like overtakes me. Like I'm very, that fear is deep seated in there. But with spiders, so I think Charlotte's Web was a beautiful way to try and get people to not fear spiders, right?
Yeah.
That movie was like a beautiful representation of like a mother spider, right?
Yeah.
Like and then right now I have, hey, how we doing? Right now on my back porch, there is, oh man, and I try to take pictures of it, but you can't capture. It's like, it's one of the biggest webs I've ever seen. And the spider is probably like this big, and it's black, red, and white. My colors,
Yeah.
your colors, and like I go out there to grill, and I'm just like, I'm I don't want to get too close, but I'm not afraid to go closer to it. And and what I'm starting to realize and remember about this is like that's just another life in this universe. And spiders kill a lot of the bad bugs
Oh
that
yeah,
are,
eat flies, all types
yeah,
of stuff. Yeah.
they get rid of the things that are the most annoying of all of it. So I have this spider out back of my porch, and like, 10 years ago, I'm destroying the hell out of that spider web and I'm killing that spider, right? Like that's just the reality. Like I'm getting it away. Now I can go out there and I can like sit in the chair and just be in awe, because like when the universe is incredible. Like just the fact that this spider can spin this web, spin, whatever, shoot this web
Yeah.
and create this incredible piece of art that it's in the creative part of its brain, and it's one of a kind, right? Like just like your paintings, like even if when you do your symbol, it's not going to be exactly the same every single time. When you do the 7 and the heart, and it's like, so it is us, it's me, it's you, it's
Mhm.
and so now like my mindset on destroying that spider web and killing that spider and getting it away, it's like, no, like I
Right.
have to just let it be. And like,
Coexisting is everything.
right, and
Sometimes when we realize that if you think about how big our planet is and how many things, like there are parts of the ocean we have never got to because in this
most of
year, yeah, a lot of it,
most of it
we don't have the technology. We have we have safer technology to get us to the moon.
yeah,
We do get us to the bottom of the ocean floor. And so many people are like just neglecting the fact that these animals, for instance, rhinos, they're dinosaurs.
100%. I was just saying that the other day.
Oh man. And they've been around for so long. And spiders, I mean, it's almost ignorant to think that it's really just us. Screw everybody else. That mindset is just not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, like we are, for the purpose of us learning and growing, like we are the center of our own universes, right? But like they, and my boys were just, Sean and John were just talking about this on their podcast, how we are also like, just how like I see and learn from other people and the lessons that they're giving me because they're reflecting me back. Like I am also that to someone else. Like I'm also I'm reflecting back things that they might not like about themselves, or things that like they can now see in themselves because they see it in me. And that was really like I knew that, but it wasn't brought to the surface, and to understand that too. Like, yes, I need to look at everybody else and see the lessons and what's being portrayed back to me, because everyone is me and we are all one. But like, I'm also that to other people, and that's a really cool thing to know and love too. And then that also makes me, now I don't want to say think about my actions more, but like, because that almost has like a negative but it makes me want to be better for those other people, right? Because I want to be positive lessons for them. And it causes me to rethink things that I might say that might cause harm. And I mean, I don't know if you ever read the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, but one of them is be impeccable with your word and do not cause harm with your word. And that just goes back to the like people casting spells, like there's a reason why it's called spelling or writing. Our words literally do cast spells. It's not woo woo magic like a magic show, but it's magic with the K at the end, I think is what it is. And
it's everywhere.
There's the perfect example is a good friend of mine. One day when we used to work together, I came in, this is not many years ago, 5-6 years ago. I came in with a black and white Nike hoodie on and black and white Adidas pants on and white Nikes on. And he made the comment of like, dude, you can't wear different brands. But in my head, I was like, but the colors match.
Right.
That's all. I was just looking at, I think I match great right now because I'm all black and whited out, right?
Yeah.
But that led me down a path of like fully committing to Adidas.
Yeah.
And I, because I loved it. This is, you know, he knows, if he hears this story, he knows exactly who he is. He's my best friend since third grade. Like I've known him for almost my whole life. And I love this guy so much that it had that deep of an impact on me. And I'm just grateful that that's not like such a bad spell that someone put, you know what I mean? That's not like some of the other things that I might believe of someone saying something negative about me and me internalizing that, which I used to do. But now I know it's like they're just saying something that bothers them, and it's about them. It's not about me. Like I'm really grateful for that knowledge now, because then those spells don't work on me anymore, and I can almost like laugh at it. Like,
to piggyback kind of what you were saying, red can be good and bad, you know, and that exists everywhere, you know, and it's really all about, like you said, it's that perspective, you know, whether you became a Nike guy, an Adidas guy, a Reebok guy, you know, at the end of the day, you're choosing to do what feels right to you, you know, and that's really just what it comes down to. You know, there are certain people, like for instance, like people that squash bugs, they're scared. They have this internal fear that maybe this bug will land on them or will touch them or they'll get bit, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Everyone's a little different, but coexisting is so important because you don't have to shut out fear. You just have to not let that become your perspective, because you're going to make decisions out of fear. They're going to fuck you up. And that is just you sabotaging yourself, you know? Then you're taking an insect out of this world. You know, that insect had his own story. You know, that insect, whether it's a he, she, whatever, is here for their own reason. And I feel like it's selfish and it's ignorant to just take these animals out because we are you know, because they are a millionth of our size and we still feel inferior to them. Like, not inferior, we still feel like they have some control over us, and it's just like, no, man, they're just doing their own thing. You don't like them, put them outside. But what if, you know, what if a huge dinosaur just gonna be like, oh man, a human, I don't like that. They just step on you and you're a fucking sardine. That's what that would be like, you know? So I really try not to. I haven't killed a bug in years, but I always urge people to stop doing that.
But I can say bugs in my house, the change from going to immediately killing them to trying some way to just get them outside. And it I'd say a spider is the most prevalent one. I feel like that's the thing that always gets in the house, no matter how, you know, shut everything is. And it's like, it's the thing, like, so when you slide on black ice, you want to go the other way with the wheel.
Right.
But in reality, what you should be doing is turning into it, because that'll right the ship, right? So that's the analogy of fear that Sean and John use. When we have fear, we want to run away from it or kill it. Like, what we need to do is gently go into it.
Right.
And so
learn to cope.
Yeah. So many, I mean, the addictions and stuff that we both experienced in the past, like I know a big part of that was running away from just the reality that was my life that I was not fond of.
Yeah.
And it was only when, I was forced to face that and be like, this is where your life is now. Like, but this doesn't have to define you. Like this, just you don't have to be defined by your worst mistake, but what you did after it can really define you. And you're someone who's, you know, embodied that so much. You brought so much beauty and love into this world with your art, and it it only I don't know if it only can come from a place that at least I know when I was in jail, that was my low point, right? I'm guessing that felt like a low point. Like it feels like that much love and beauty can only come from that
Absolutely.
low point. And but that's not to discourage someone who's had like a good life and has never had like a a horrible event like that they've been able to turn it around, because if anything, that person has just had a better outlook on life the whole time. And like that is that's like that's the holy grail right there. Like
Yeah.
we we had to go to that dark place to I'll speak for myself. I had to go to that dark place to find that mindset and to meet people that didn't have to and already have that, and they're not like this bitter resentful person. Like that is so beautiful. And man, that's what this experience is all about.
I really think that this might sound crazy, but I really think that everyone should go to jail, at least for a couple days. Honestly, if you look at being trapped in a situation, when you live in Israel, okay, when you are a natural born citizen of Israel, you have to do 2 years in the service. Like you
Yeah.
have to. You don't have a choice. Like when you're 18, you're going. And you do 2 years. You can do more if you want to, but everyone, men and women, have to serve their time. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing, not only because it's teaching the community to work together, but you have to be proud of where you're from because that's where your roots are. And whether you like them or not, your roots are who you are. And when you are grateful for them, that's when you can truly blossom.
I I love that you brought that up, because there's so much substance to that, right? Like it teaches you so much about discipline, about gratitude, about being able to take care of yourself, being like, because that person effectively after those 2 years can be like put in the woods and
Right.
survive, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like those are all life experiences and stuff that, like, you put me in the woods, I don't know. I don't know, man. I can maybe start a fire, maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like, if I don't have a lighter, can I really?
I'm willing to bet, and this doesn't just go for you. I think, especially with us being um, people of prison, if you will, I think that any situation that forces you to make a good decision or to be inspired to make a good decision would be beneficial for anybody.
Oh yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think that because you and I were in a situation where we'd done a lot of stupid, dumb stuff, and put us in an isolated situation where all we could do is sit there and reflect on why we are in this chapter in our book that it seems confusing or maybe wrong, misguided, whatever. But I feel that at some point or another, everyone has an opportunity to learn from from a situation like that in their life, whether they went to jail or not. Like there's all kinds of different people with all kinds of different stories, and sometimes it knocks on your door and asks you to pay your dues.
Right. And
you know
that I remember when, so obviously, like, very vivid memory of that whole night until I got bailed out the next day and all that. Like, I had this thought of being like, first, like, how did I get here? Like, how did this happen? Like, I'm a good person. Like, I'm not a bad person. Like, what I feel like this is where bad people go. Like, that's what I was thinking. And being like, for the first time in a long time, like talking to, to God. It's easier to say than whatever. Yeah, talking to God and just being like, how could you do this to me? Like, I'm a good person. Like, and being so angry. And like now, and very quickly, not gonna lie, like very quickly in the next 6 months of getting, not using, not drinking, not anything, just getting a clear head, just being able to be like, wow, like this was done for me,
Absolutely.
not to
Absolutely.
me.
Right.
Like,
But at that moment, your ego is, both of our egos, we're not going to see that. We're not going to see that. I absolutely, like, to be honest with you, yeah, that was the whole first day of me, going to jail, and just thinking to myself, like, of all the things, why, like, what did I do to deserve this? And I sat there and I realized why I was in jail. I'm like, that's why. I'm not gonna go into that whole thing, but like the mistakes that I made led me to be this destructive person who is potentially putting other people's lives at risk, and like, that's not cool. You realize that you have all this potential, but it's just easier to just be selfish and like self-centered, because like, who cares about other people? But then you do start caring about other people and you see the rewards that come with it, and it's just too powerful to ignore. At least for me.
absolutely. And kind of this really relates to what you just said. It's like the being put there, like, for so long, I was like, I thought I was just doing it to me. And then I was finally able to see like how it affects everybody else in my life, like the people that I love the most.
Yeah.
Like, and how can I repay them? And for a long time, it was just not use. Like, if I'm just not using and I'm present with them, like, that can be enough for now. But then it reaches a point like, I need to now give back to these people. And when I'm able to, when my parents make dinner, wash the dishes. Like, very, very little thing, but like little things like that add up. Like, when my family is having a dinner for someone's birthday, for someone's something that happened that's positive, right? Because that's usually when they have dinners, right? Be there and be present, and not think of, oh, well, I could be working on music, I could be working on building my brand, I could be out with my friends having this great time. It's like, no, I'm here now, and these are the people that I love the most, and I'm going to give my full self to them, all of my love that I can in this moment. And that like switch in my perspective, because before, the crowning event of my life, that when I did get arrested, it was always like, I want to get away.
Right.
I want to get away. And if that wasn't a metaphor for everything in my life, it was, I want to get away, so let's do this and let's do this and take this, and it was always running away. And but you gotta turn in.
Right.
You gotta turn into the fear.
I think one of the reasons that so many people, myself included, have these destructive addictions is because we are so uncomfortable with dealing, that running away seems like it's just the only, like, let me drink, let me smoke, let me put something foreign in my body that will help me cope with what I'm feeling. But really, eventually you grow up and you get your head out of your ass and you realize that you're not coping anything. You're just masking that problem. So it is like watered down. So like you are in no shape to work like strategically on fixing anything. You're just essentially diluting that issue for a small time while you're, incoherent
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And I really feel like the real strength is right in that moment where you realize that I'm going to feel so much better about this if I sit down and handle it, because tomorrow this will no longer be a problem. But that's not the
Absolutely.
case. For a lot of people, they're like, nah, I'm just gonna like do whatever I gotta do and then I'll deal with it
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. And then 10 years goes by and that same problem that could have taken you 3 minutes to solve will destroy you, whether it's emotional, physical, you know, because we are just disrespectful and negligent of our opportunity on this planet. And it's just not something I'm willing to do anymore.
I mean, it's a line that just embodies what we were just talking about there is we drink until the pain's over, but what's worse, the pain or the hangover? Shout out Kanye West for the most inspirational line in hip hop history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mostly because of how literal that I took that, right? It's I heard that line before I got clean, right? And it's like, whoa, like when I was, thinking that I was just partying and not like destroying my life, like that line already had a profound impact on me.
Yeah.
And then once I got clean and hearing it again, it's like, whoa, that really is what I was doing. Like, whoa.
And the funny thing, not to get sidetracked, but I love marijuana. And I'm just gonna go out and just say that as an artist, pot gives me so much inspiration. It gives me so much creativity when I'm not feeling creative. But where I am in my life, I no longer use it when I'm sad, when I'm depressed. I don't need it as a pick me up, I when I choose to smoke, it's when I'm in the studio and I want my headspace to go and venture outside of my normal box. And I think that's when it is helpful. I'm not driving. I'm not just acting like a fool at a party. You know what I mean? And I'm not sitting here taking massive amounts just to show to somebody of my tolerance. Like, I'm just beyond that point, When I ingest it now, and, like I was telling you before, I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't drink anymore, no more hard drugs. But I smoke this plant because it absolutely connects me to that world where I think outside the box. And sometimes I'll be painting something and it'll look like a mistake, and maybe it isn't. Maybe that line was supposed to be there exactly the way it was supposed to be there, And going back to what you said, all the webs I've ever painted are a little bit different, Sometimes they're very similar, sometimes they're very different, sometimes they're a whole different color. But you do what feels right, and I feel artists that progress in their careers are the ones that are not scared or not worried to push themselves outside of that narrative.
And I love how you explained, because what you're doing is using the plant, the beautiful plant medicine,
Right.
in an intentional way
Right.
that is positive and bringing love and light to the universe,
Yeah, it's not
right?
a touch anymore.
Exactly. My at first, obviously, I get clean and I'm like, everything's bad. I don't care what you do, but I know I can't, right?
Right.
Like it's like because I got the silver bracelets, I lost my right to use those substances, and it's been a lot more of it was now fear, right? More fear of I might go back to that lifestyle, even with that one puff, with that one drink, that one thing. But now my mindset has changed so much, and I still have that fear, and I haven't used it, but there's a now I see, and now I can see why and how it can be so useful, instead of just being that thing where I don't like my reality and I need to escape. Right. So now I'm going to use this thing, and now this isn't enough. So now I need to use more or something else. And that vicious cycle, it was the cycle I was on. But now I can see the beauty in an artist like you, in a comedian I've George Carlin said, write sober, edit. He would write his jokes and then get high and then add a little more to it, right? And it opened up him creatively. And same with, psychedelics and stuff like that. Like, I'm very open to an ayahuasca experience, not because I'm this addict and I love to get high, because if you're going to do ayahuasca and you think it's going to be a fun party, right? It's not. I'm actually looked it up yet. Yeah, like, I'm actually terrified to go do it. Right. But that makes me, I got to go into the fear, and I want to peel back the layers of me even more, and the experiences of people that have gone and done it. And Aubrey Marcus is very open about all of his plant medicine journeys and stuff, and literally like details them out, and like, to get that, deep into me, I feel like it can, and from here, for him, it was very beneficial, and it is very beneficial. And I'm very open to that. And to hear things like Paul Stamets talk about when he was, 18, 19 years old, doing way too much mushrooms, but then focusing on his stuttering problem and saying, I will not stutter anymore. I will not stutter anymore. And then from then on has not stuttered after he woke up. And it's like, hearing things like that, like also another gentleman, I forget who it was, but he's very, very, very fair skinned, and he was always getting sunburned. And one time he took LSD and was like talking to, his higher power and saying, like, I love the sun. I love the sun. I want to be in the sun, and I don't want to be burned anymore. And now he hasn't gotten sunburned since. Like, there's beauty. Yeah. There's all these things are very anecdotal experiences, right? There's no evidence, right? There's no scientific evidence that everyone wants to, oh my God, what's the science behind it? What is it? We are the divine power of the universe. Like, we have it in us, and it's in our hearts. It's literally in our pineal gland.
Absolutely.
Like,
literally. Yeah.
Like, here's the other thing that not a lot of people know: the drugs that we take only spark the chemical reaction in us that we already have.
Right.
We already have all these we are the chemistry set. It's like a great way to explain it. Like, so that's another reason why I haven't looked into more than, where can I go do ayahuasca in Peru? It's because I'm actively like trying to experience this stuff through meditation. Like, I lay on an acupuncture mat and I put my fingers together because I put them because that closes the circuit. I'm trying to focus on, and I light up each one of my chakras, and like I'm hoping for this astral projection into the universe. Like, I don't feel like I've quite, gotten there yet, but I know now that, like, it's possible for me to be anywhere at any time if I close my eyes. Like,
the natives, I shouldn't even say natives, I want to say tribes from all over the world have used hallucinogens and marijuana for foresight, for courage, for battle. There has been so many different experiences documented um, about tribes going into these meditational, I don't want to say programs, but these situations, these periods where they put this chemical that grows out of the ground into their body. And because we are so connected with that element, it brings us, literally connects us to the divine, because I do believe, we say the word divine, but I really believe like every person has a very distinctive made key for that person. When you go to church and you sit there and, there's, let's say a new principle is being, there's a new sermon going on and, you hear things and, well, how does this, compare to me, or how can I, adapt to that theory and make my life better? But sometimes we forget that my key isn't going to look like your key. And that's very discouraging, because we as humans, I think, especially artists, we are always comparing ourselves, like, oh, that person's doing this, or I'm doing that, or, my art isn't as good and that person's fucking great, and that will only discourage you. You have to realize that your key is shaped in the way that you shape it. But all of our keys do the same thing, It's just, how are you going to get from here to there, But that's your path. That's your journey. And it's such a, going back to being an addict, like, that sucks that we shut that down entirely because we don't understand it. And as we all know, we're terrified of what we don't understand. And it puts you in this loop where you're just fucked. You have to then get unfucked. I'll never forget. I don't read often. I actually kind of hate reading, but I'm currently reading a book called Recovery, and it's written by, I forget his name now, obviously, but he was married to Katy Perry. Russell Brand.
Russell Brand, yes.
He has this book, man, and it is essentially the 12-step program, but it takes God completely out of it. Like, you are your master, and you have to realize that you have these problems that only you can fix. So you can turn to anybody you want to help you, but only you can help you. You know what I mean? You have to make yourself unfucked, because step one is admitting that you are, and that's where the whole process begins. And it's just there's a book I can recommend. It is that one. It's like his third or fourth. The guy's hilarious, and we know he's a comedian. But it is, you are in it. You are in this book, and you're like, man, like every time I read this book, I'm just like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I want to do the steps. I'm looking forward to it because I know that winning is being in full control of myself. And like, I'm gonna do this, and this is gonna be great for me, and here I go. And it's not like, oh, well, this is scary, maybe I'll just lean back and, life is what it is, I'll just see what happens. That's all fine and good, but then you'll realize that you're 60 and you're fat and you're on the couch and you haven't done shit.
that is, man, I have yet to read that book, but I've read I've listened to him speak about it a lot. He's an incredible follow on all social media and stuff like that. Because he basically like does this, but like talks to you about like his experiences and stuff, and like the art isn't instead, it's like admitting you're fucked, admitting that it's possible for you to be unfucked. Like it's such a great way to explain even the 12 steps in NA and AA and all the anonymous programs. But he made it so that anybody can
Yeah.
use it, because listen, I know from my experience, we are all addicts in some way, addicted to something.
Yeah.
It just might not always be this obvious destructive force that is, heroin in a needle, right? Like it can, there's many people, the most prevalent addiction in America is food, like
Oh yeah, no doubt. Sugar,
100,000%.
sugar alone
Yeah.
is such a killer. Like sugar alone kills more people than the flu.
Mhm.
Like that's baffling to me when you statistically look up those numbers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the fact that that's happening is people are having so much sugar, they're dying of like cardiac arrest. They're having sugar, their sugar is like skyrocketing, plummeting. It's just like, and you don't even have to be a specific age, to get a bar of candy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to be 21 years old to for a diabetic to have like a it's crazy. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because yeah, addictions are not just drugs. It's shopping, it's pornography, it's a million things. Sometimes beating on other people to make yourself feel good
Oh.
is an addiction, and that's one of the worst ones I've seen. Here's the thing: if you're doing something that's killing you, that sucks. But if you have an addiction that's hurting other people, now you're a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that's just how I
Yeah.
feel.
That, I mean, it's, that, because there's so many, it's on so many levels when you're hurting other people, and a lot of times it's like there's a mirror up, because what's happening, what you're doing to them was done to, like, from what I've read, right? It's a lot of the times when someone is like doing something so terrible to somebody, it's because that same thing was done to them by somebody, and they just think that's how they're supposed to act,
They
type of
didn't
thing.
they didn't deal with it.
Yeah.
That problem, like they're still hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes them deflect that behavior, and that sucks, because when I was in school, I was always taught that, like, you should always be the nicest to the meanest person in the room. And when I first heard that, I'm like, that's asinine. That doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Just blocked it out. And then I heard it a couple of years later, and it was like I heard it for the very first time, and I realized that the person that's hurting the most can obviously do the most amount of damage. But that's where the problem starts. If you can help that person help themselves, not only are they going to stop hurting all these other people, but you've done something really good, like really good. And that's beautiful. That's why we're here.
Absolutely. It's like someone says "fuck you" and you tell them "I love you." It's like
Yeah,
it's like the ultimate. You know what I mean? It's just
absolutely.
because that's what is lacking in their life is love, and or that's what they're blocking, or is being blocked
Right.
from their life, right? Like they never received it from their parents, from siblings, from peers, from and that's how it's manifesting. And it's like it we it, I think it's a Hare Krishna, um not priest, but it's someone who preaches for the Hare Krishna religion and whatnot. He tried to explain, because because like we've mentioned, like we are divine. We are we are the one. We are the universe is all of us, and I am you, and you are me, and
Right.
we are all together, and all that good stuff. The way he explained it, 'cause he's like, how can we all be God? But God is this, you know, this other being. And the way he explained it is like the higher power is the sun, and we are all the rays.
Right.
they are two different things, but they are the same thing. And that resonated so much with me, because it's like, if everyone could see, the world and the universe like that, like we are really the same thing. We come from the same source,
Yeah.
right? There'd be
Being born is a miracle. If you look at statistically the chances of one sperm cell, and it just takes one guy out of 100,000, you know what I mean? Your existence is the miracle in your life. And it's so funny that we're just like, oh man, I just need a miracle. If I could just win this Powerball, if I can just get to my job on time, if I can just get that, that PhD, if I can just, no, go. The fact that you got a chance to wake up today, that's your miracle. There are people dying every other minute of the day, literally.
every second.
Every second, someone's being born, someone goes. And, it takes this amount of time to go, and you're gone. It doesn't matter how long you've been here. Like it is a snap of the fingers and you are vanished like a magic trick. So to have a sustainable life where you are doing something positive for yourself and then learn to do something positive for the community, I think that really good things happen to people like that all the time. And I've seen it. I've seen it enough to believe that it happens to me. I don't think I'm going to be alive forever. I absolutely don't. But I feel like my mission here is like just gotten started. And I want to take care of my body. I want to take care of my head to make sure that I'm in the place to make decisions that will positively affect my community. And that's why I won't stop what I'm doing. And then meeting people like you and giving me the platform to have this podcast and share the things that I do that I'm passionate about. And again, it was no coincidence that we met, and it's such an amazing opportunity to be this kind of person. And I feel like if I never quit doing drugs or, being a reckless person, it would have taken who knows how long to get to this chapter of my life. And I'm just grateful I got there.
That is a hell of a way to end this podcast.
Thank you so much, bro. This has been such a beautiful opportunity to share my story and and just to be valued. It feels really good.
I felt the connection from that first moment at Ned's, that beautiful place. I'm so grateful to know you and call you a friend and a brother. I love you to death. Thank you for doing the Free Yourself podcast. Where can everybody find you?
So if you want to see my art, I am on Instagram at hashtag lower. That's not lowercase. It's the
underscore.
Thank you. Geez. Underscore 7 was here. Underscore. And I do just want to say this real quick before I head out. I do have two very different platforms on Instagram. 7 was here is a lot of things. It's the heart, it's the 7, it's murals, it's spiders, it's women, it's horror stuff, it's watercolor, it's anything that I feel like doing. But I also have another Instagram called the Love Renegade. And the Love Renegade is just positive street art. And that that's not a money-making business. That is just me putting the love in the world that I feel would benefit. So if you like any of that, I would urge for our listeners, your listeners, our audiences to check that out, and maybe it'll inspire somebody else to do some good.
7, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you, brother.
Bro.
Until next time, everybody, peace, love, unity, respect.
Love it.
Out.
Good talking to you, brother.